Yeah. Jeff Fisher was the head coach of the Houston Oilers. He went all the way back to the Houston Oilers. He was the head coach of the Houston Oilers / Tennessee Titans from 1995 to 2010. And then he became the head coach of the St. Louis Los Angeles Rams in 2012 to 2016. So there was a little gap in between that 22-year span. But he coached as a head coach in the NFL for over 20 years. His regular season record, listen to this. You're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, a special edition of the Doug Stewart Show, breaking news edition of the Doug Stewart Show. In the regular season, Jeff Fisher's record was 173 and 165 and 1. And here's the most alarming thing about Jeff Fisher's record is his postseason record. The Jeff Fisher's record in coaching 20 years, we've already established he's been coaching for 20 years. His postseason record is 5-6. That's right. The man's been a coach for 20 years and has a 5-6 record. What I really think happened, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, a special edition of the Doug Stewart Show. We're going to talk about the Monday Night Football game tonight between the Baltimore Ravens and the New England Patriots here in a second. We're also going to talk about Lane Kiffin getting another job. He's the modern-day Jeff Fisher. Here's what I think happened with Jeff Fisher and how everybody became enamored with him. Not only does he obviously know how to politic, know how to schmooze owners and talk that talk and walk that walk or whatever in his interviews, because evidently he interviews well. But I think that Jeff Fisher, the respect that Jeff Fisher got over his years of coaching had a lot to do with the fact that he took the Tennessee Titans, which they weren't an expansion team, but they were an expansion team kind of. You know, they moved the franchise from Houston to Tennessee, and in a short time, he took the Tennessee Titans to a Super Bowl. Now, they lost the Super Bowl. Once again, I think he mishandled Steve McNair throughout his career. I think Steve McNair could have been utilized much better. I don't think that Jeff Fisher necessarily liked Steve McNair. I don't think he liked Vince Young as well, as I mentioned earlier. But I think people kind of looked at the fact that he took an expansion-type franchise. When I say that, they're not an expansion franchise, but they had a new uniform. They were in a new city. It was kind of a new thing. And he took them to a Super Bowl. So it was kind of like fool's gold that they went to a Super Bowl. They didn't win. And once again, the man's record in the playoffs for over 20 years was 5-6. But I think that NFL brass, GMs, and owners, and they look and it's like, man, Jeff Fisher took the Titans to a Super Bowl. Maybe he could take my team to a Super Bowl. But such is not the case. He absolutely sucks. He absolutely sucks. And you're right. I am happy about this. I am happy about this, man. This news actually broke about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. And I says, you know what, man, we got to do a special episode of the Doug Stewart Show. Because I hate this type of retread thing where they just continue to give the same guys jobs over and over and over again. They gave this cat a new contract before the season started. On what basis? On what basis? Because they were, the featured team in Hard Knocks on HBO? Like, what basis? Like, how can you look at this cat's record and his ineptitude and what he's done as head coach in the NFL for almost 20 years, or for over 20 years at the time they gave him this deal, and say that he deserves a contract extension? Like, how does that happen? How does that happen? And I think that Eric Dickerson, the disrespect of Eric Dickerson, I think that the product that was on the field was so bad. If you watched this game yesterday, I'm not embellishing what I'm saying about how bad the product was. I think all of that came into play. And I think the Rams said, man, we just got to go in a different direction. We got to get rid of this cat here. You're fired. So I want to get your thoughts. I want to get your reaction to Jeff Fisher being out as head coach of the Los Angeles Rams. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back,
your own radio show?
When we get back from the break, we'll jump more into this conversation. We all over the place with the controls here. We're out kind of like a fish out of water today. This ain't normal what we do around here. But when we get back from the break, I want to talk a little bit more about Fisher. I also want to get into the Monday night game, kind of like a preview for that, as well as read some of your chat in the chat room on Spreaker.com. That's what we're going to do, all right? That's what we're going to do, man. Bonus edition. Breaking news edition of the Doug Stewart Show. I'll get some of your thoughts, some of your reactions to Jeff Fisher being out as head coach in Los Angeles. If you saw the little post-game interview with Todd Gurley, it wasn't good. It was embarrassing. That game yesterday was embarrassing. Once again, they look like the Washington Generals of the NFL. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back in a moment. This is the Doug Stewart Show, Breaking News Edition. Don't go away. Do you have your own radio show? Are you an artist or a DJ? BB Mobile Apps is the solution for you. They specialize in creating mobile apps for entertainers. That's right. You can have your own mobile app where your followers can hear your shows or music, watch your videos, and view all your social networks in one place. You can even make money with banner ads and send push notifications directly to your audience to make sure they get your messages. Everyone has their phones on them, right? A mobile app will add credibility to your brand because your content will be accessible to them while they're on the go. BB Mobile Apps also makes apps for bloggers, actors, and producers. The process only takes about 20 minutes. Just go to bbmobileapps.com and click Get Started Now. That's bbmobileapps.com and tell them the Doug Stewart Show sent you. Doug Stewart here to tell you about my man Smooth at smoothtickets.com. Smooth's got the tickets for everything that you need in the world of sports, concerts, or theater. I don't care what it is. I don't care where it's at in this great land of ours. My man Smooth at smoothtickets.com, he got them tickets. I'm telling you, boxing, baseball, NBA, NFL, country music concerts, hard rock, hip-hop, theater, Broadway, he's got them all. And if he don't have them, there ain't none. I'm telling you, smoothtickets.com. Once again, that's smoothtickets.com, or give him a call at 404-374-1150. Once again, that's 404-374-1150. You got to tell him, though, that I sent you. You got to tell him that Doug Stewart sent you. Once again, smoothtickets.com. That's smoothtickets.com. Yeah!
Bass.
Welcome back to a special episode of the Doug Stewart Show. Breaking news episode. Jeff Fisher's out. Bastard.
I used to run like Juan Pierre. Now I run the bass, hi-hat, and the snare. I used to bag girls like
quick impromptu show. Just wanted to give some reaction to Jeff Fisher being out as head coach in the NFL for the Los Angeles Rams. We will read some of your thoughts here in the chat room on Spreaker.com with the new premium membership that we now have with the Stewart Media and Entertainment Network. I told y'all we're going to be doing more things like this. We will just pop in with the show at any time. Whenever there's breaking news, expect this type of thing around here on SME. Yeah. And you can even call the show still, like we do in the morning, at 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com. We'll get to the Monday night game here in a second. I want to get some of your thoughts and read some of your reaction in the chat room on Spreaker.com about Jeff Fisher being out. But I think this kind of ties in. This is a good segue. Alabama offensive coordinator Lane Kiffin has agreed to become Florida Atlantic's next football coach. I guess we should clap. Yeah. I guess. Kiffin will remain Alabama's offensive coordinator throughout the college football playoff. Head coach Nick Saban confirmed Monday, similar to what former defensive coordinator Kirby Smart did last season after taking the job at Georgia. Kiffin's contract with Alabama was set to expire after this season, and he wasn't expected to return, helping to explain why he made a hard push to find a coaching job. You know, allegedly his name was in the hat for the Texas job. His name was in the hat lightweight for the Oregon job. They mentioned him for the University of South Florida job. I'll talk about all those in a second. But he has to settle for FIU. No disrespect to FIU, but he settles for FIU. Or FAU, I'm sorry. So FIU is Florida International, which there is a school down there called Florida International. I think they're the Panthers. And then they also have Florida Atlantic University, which Kiffin gets the job to. They're the Owls. Kiffin's salary at FAU will average about $1 million a year annually. He was making $1.4 million as the offensive coordinator at Alabama. What? Wait a minute. Where they do that at? Yeah, where they do that at? One of the finalists for the Houston head coaching job. That was another job that he was supposedly up for, which ultimately went to Major Applewhite, who I like Major Applewhite. Kiffin takes over an FAU program that went 3-9 this past season. This will be Kiffin's. This is how I say and why I say that he's kind of like, Jeff Fisher-like. This will be Lane Kiffin's fourth different head coaching stint in college football. And the pros. He was the Oakland Raiders head coach, which was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen in my life, that he got a head coaching job at that time, at that young of an age, and he just blew it. He didn't do a damn thing. He was the head coach of the Oakland Raiders in 2007 and part of the 2008 season before being fired by the great Al Davis, the late Raiders owner. He went on to be the head coach at Tennessee in 2009, but then he left Tennessee in the middle of the night, kind of Bobby Petrino-ish, to take the USC job. That's right. A former assistant at USC under Pete Carroll, Kiffin was the Trojans' head coach from 2010 to 2012 and then fired 5 games into the 2013 season. Man, it's very interesting. This is another cat that I don't like either. First of all, I thought that he was privileged in the fact, he's Monty Kiffin's son, defensive coordinator for a long time for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that he was privileged to be able to have the opportunities that he did so early in his career when there's assistant head coaches and lifetime assistant head coaches that have been doing it, once again for their life, have been assistant coaches, have been coordinators for 20 plus 30 years and don't get the opportunities that Lane Kiffin got. Lane Kiffin was the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, and he was like in his mid-30s, I believe. Then he got another pie job as the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. The thing I didn't like for him when he was the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers and what kind of turned me against him even more was the fact that he left Tennessee like Tennessee was some type of, stepping stone job. Like Tennessee was this second level, this inferior type job to the USC Trojans job. Very disrespectful to the Tennessee Volunteer program. Now, listen, I'm not a Tennessee football fan, but Tennessee is a national brand football program. Tennessee is in the SEC. They won a national championship under Philip Fulmer. They have done a lot of big things. They've had a bunch of big-name players. They're in the SEC. That's all you need to know. They seat 100,000 people at Neyland Stadium. This man had that job and left that job like he couldn't wait to get out of Knoxville, Tennessee. It is L.A. He was leaving Knoxville, going to L.A. But outside of that, outside of the fact that it was a much better city in relative terms, Knoxville to L.A. 100 times better. Outside of that, man, it was very disrespectful the way that he bolted out of Tennessee, out of Knoxville, to take that job at USC. And then he went out to USC, another great job. You're talking about 2 of the top maybe 10 programs in college football. Definitely USC is one of the top 10 programs. And at the time,